Hey guys, welcome to episode number 13 of the Andy Campbell Championship Show, only on Ace Podcast Nation. Spooky Halloween 13, innit? It's almost like we planned it, but we didn't. But we'll say we did.
Yeah, we did.
I am your host, Si. I'm joined by ex-Premier League and Championship striker, Cardiff City legend, Mr. Andy Campbell. We have three main featured games for the weekend's round of matches, which we focus on, as well as talking all the other games and news, giving our 2 for 2, where we select two players who've had a nightmare or a blinder. Andy will answer your questions, and I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot of them tonight around Cardiff. We've had a lot of fun in recent weeks, and then we finish off with the soon-to-be award-winning 10-second segment, the best segment in podcast, radio, TV, internet history.
Gold.
That is FAKE Geordie Bingo Lingo, where Andy teaches me something about his northern culture, whether it be food or slang or a well-known phrase. It is gold. So joining me to talk about all these subjects, provide expert analysis and insight, is the one, the only, goal-scoring machine, fox in the box, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome.
Good evening, mate. How are we?
All right, mate. All right. All good. Been a very interesting, stressful weekend for Welsh.
Rubbish. It's been rubbish, mate. To be fair, football can just absolutely make or break you. And I think this weekend it's broke a few. It's certainly broke me. Mentally more than physically.
It was depressing. Yesterday, particularly, it was just like, oh, God's sake.
Yeah, no, it's just going to be plenty to talk about, and that's not just with the things that people think that we're going to talk about, because there's been some good stuff as well, some great games, some good goals, some bad tackles, some interesting referee decisions, and let's go.
Let's go. So I'm going to just quickly do the plugs, get them all out of the way, and then I'm going to have a bit of a rant before we get into it. So all our shows and series are available in video format at youtube.com/AcePodcastNation, audio at the usual podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and many, many more. Next week, we have a second episode in our new MMA series, which is the Danny Batten MMA show. Myself and former Cage Warriors featherweight champion Danny Batten breaking down UFC 244, which is shaping up to be a fantastic show. Thrilled to welcome Danny to the team. He was featherweight champion for 7 years, expert in all types of martial arts, so he will bring an incredible amount of knowledge for the breaking down the fights and the MMA news. And just on the MMA front, just last week I dropped a show with top Cage Warriors featherweight Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, who had plenty to say about MMA, Conor McGregor, and Liverpool and Man United and all other stuff. He's never shy of a word or two, is he, the Scouse man? But he was a real entertaining show, top man. A bit disappointed that I couldn't get him for a video one, but he was fitting me in during his fight camp, so I was happy to get the audio one via phone, and he's coming back on after his fight at the end of November, which he will win, there's no doubt. Just Friday, I released part 1, and today, which is Monday, I released part 2 of the first episode in our mini-series on addiction with writer and journalist Joshua Shea, who was living the American dream before his addiction to alcohol and porn ripped his life apart. The 2-part episode tells Joshua's stories in the hope of reaching others who may be struggling with similar issues. It's harrowing, distressing at times, but it has to be presented in this raw way to hopefully make people listen. There's millions of people, all races, class, gender, who are struggling with addiction and mental health issues, and we must help them. The best way to do that is to keep talking about these issues and get others to do the same. And finally, today's show is brought to you by Away Day Apparel. Away Day Apparel is a group of casually obsessed football fans looking to bring something different to the wardrobes of like-minded people. With football, music, and weekend carnage high on the agenda, they aim to bring you exclusive products. They are edgy, controversial, but most importantly, current. Stick with them, and they aim to bring you terrace wear that will turn heads and provide cutting-edge look we all crave. You can also get this lovely T-shirt as modelled by me.
Spot on.
So, before we get into the games, I've got a few things to say, Andy. And I'm sure you'll add to what I have to say.
Yeah,
so I think, first of all, I'm going to go with players coming to fans after games, okay? So, for example, Cardiff to Swansea, not very far, approximately, I don't even, 25 miles, if that. I don't even know. And I should know, but I don't. Geography is very bad, okay? Not far. After that performance, every single member of that team, subs and all, and manager, in my opinion, should have been over to those fans, thanking them for the support. Friday night, Southampton lost 9-0 at home in a Premier League game. Not a friendly, not a Cardiff Cup game with kids. 9-0 at home in a Premier League game against their team. Yes, Leicester, another, the same team they were a couple of years ago or before they won the Premier League. But they're still Leicester and Southampton. There's not like a huge gap. Southampton haven't just come up from, the Championship.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time where players, they don't go over and thank those fans. Cardiff, if we travel to Carlisle or Sunderland or Newcastle, wherever, that's a whole day off work, leaving sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning. You lose a day's pay. You got to pay a fortune to get up there. You got to pay a fortune for tickets. The least those players can do is go and thank those fans for their support, because those players, well, they get paid in a day or say a week. Some of these fans don't get in a year, or best part of top Championship players. They're probably getting what? They're getting at least like 15, 20 grand a week, at least.
Yeah.
Some fans don't get that a year.
Yeah.
They follow the club, these players, all around the country.
Yeah.
And I think it was absolutely disgusting that the Southampton players just kind of disappeared after a 9-0 drubbing at home. Like, I don't count applauding the fans from the halfway line as proper appreciation for your fans. They should have been going around. We just discussed off air, and you said they should have been forced to go around the pitch. They should have been, and the manager should have made them to apologise.
Yeah, I agree.
Damn right, you should have. Cardiff fans yesterday at Swansea. Yeah, it's not far, but it's a horrible trip to make because you've got to go as a bubble trip. You've got to go be escorted by the police. You're treated like animals, which I'm going to discuss in a minute. It's not an enjoyable trip. Those fans who go there purely to support their team. And one player went over after that game, and they were piss poor. They were disgusting performance by all. And the one player was the captain, Sean Morrison. And I will get into it. He's not good enough at the moment as a player. However, he kept the score to 1-0 yesterday by making 3 or 4 last-ditch tackles. So if there was any player who didn't deserve abuse or didn't deserve boos, it was probably him. He was the only player who went over, and because he was the only player who went over, he took a load of abuse from the fans. Not all fans, but some fans. Now, to me, that's wrong. All those players should have been over there, and the reason they didn't go is because they knew how terrible they'd been, and they didn't want to face the music. That's not acceptable to me. Not acceptable at all.
I totally agree. Agree. There's nothing worse, There's nothing worse than after a game, when you get beat. You know what I mean? You know what's coming. You know exactly where you know exactly what you've heard it for the past 60, 70 minutes in a game. You know what I mean? You've missed a chance. You've missed a penalty. You've given the ball away. Everything's just gone against you, and you know you're going to get stick. But fans deserve everything what you've just said. They deserve that and more. So you know what I mean? You've got to give them it back. So for me, when the fans are singing your name and you're cheering them off like the manager does at home after every victory, and he gets his cheers and he rives the fans up. You know what I mean? There's got to be something when you lose as well, because everything's not just a success. It's not a bed of roses. It's not a party every Saturday. You know what I mean? It's about winning and losing. You know what I mean? And coming together as a group. And the captain, the manager, someone's got to take responsibility to say, you're not going down the tunnel. Get yourself in here. Solidarity as a group. We haven't performed this season. Not just today. This is just a smoke screen now. You know that this isn't just one game. We're not. Let's forget Swansea. That could have been anybody's Saturday. Sunday, sorry. You know what I mean? That they've underperformed for weeks and weeks and weeks. Hence, the league table doesn't lie. And for me, the right thing to do is go and clap your fans. And you probably wouldn't notice then one or two people taking a bit of stick, because nobody would know who it's aimed at. It'd be aimed at the whole group, and then it brings people together. Because then, as a group, the group goes into the change room saying that was disgraceful. Yes, it was disgraceful, but they've got every right to say it. To pay the money, they travel, they take time off work. They've got desire, they've got passion. You know what I mean? This is every football club down the land. You know what I mean? It could be 50 fans travelling. It could be 5,000 fans travelling. It doesn't matter. Fans deserve you to go to their end wherever they are and give them the send off. Southampton on Friday, disgusting. You know what I mean? The probably the most passionate player in that Southampton side was Bertrand, who got sent off, and he came on the Sky cameras after the game and did an interview. He lasted 15 minutes in the game, you know what I mean? So he was probably in a better position. That they were already getting beat when he came on, but disgraceful attitude, disgraceful, you know what I mean, from players. It doesn't matter if you're from Wales or you're from Southampton and you're not a local boy, and it's still got to matter the same, regardless where you're from. You sign a contract, you buy into that football club. It's that simple. You buy into that football club, you're there for 3, 4, 5 years, whatever contract you sign. That means every Saturday, every Tuesday, you run through a brick wall for those supporters behind the goal. That's as simple as I can say it, because fans deserve more than what they're getting at the minute, and that's every club. I'm not picking on Cardiff City players. I'm not picking on Southampton players. You know what I mean? Middlesbrough fans deserve more. Middlesbrough fans would turn up in more in numbers if they got a little bit back from players. If players would run through a brick wall for them a little bit more, and you know what I mean. And this could be Morecambe, it could be Stevenage, it could be York City, Newport County, Wrexham. It's just you could go on it's the same thing. You know, fans deserve to be treated with a certain amount of respect, and I don't think they are at the minute.
No, they're not. And sort of sticking on with the fans being treated a certain way and treated with respect. I just wanted to make mention. So, Cardiff Swansea is a bubble trip. It's one of the very few left in the Football League which is still a bubble trip, if not the last. There's no need for it to be a bubble trip, in my opinion. In 2019, you can still police it in a safe way without having to herd the fans around like cattle with a police escort where they've got to exchange vouchers at services and all this crap. But all right, it's a bubble trip, fine, whatever. However, this particular game, the police decided to use facial recognition software and technology to try and identify Cardiff fans and potential troublemakers. Now, some people will hear that and they think, oh, that's a good idea. It's not a good idea. The supporters clubs, as far as I'm aware, Cardiff and Swansea as clubs said they didn't want it used. The FA, as far as I'm aware, or the Welsh FA, I'm not sure which one, said they didn't want to use. There was no need for it. The police overruled it and decided they're going to use it. Of course, the genius there is football fans. All the Cardiff fans wore Halloween masks to protect their privacy. Good for them. Cracking idea. But what is concerning for me is I know people who are on that list of potential troublemakers who are on there basically for being in the wrong place at the wrong time and have nothing to do with any trouble, never have. But this could have massive implications if you get identified by this software wrongly at a football match, just for going to the football match, adhering to all the rules and regulations you've got to when you go to a bubble match. And you can have huge implications on your professional life, your private life, because the police want to basically abuse their power, in my opinion. For example, in the Champions League final in Cardiff 2017, 2,000 people were wrongly identified using this software. A judge recently ruled against a shopper from Cardiff who brought a legal challenge against the police because they used the automated facial recognition software earlier in the year to identify him, and the judge ruled against him. This campaign group, Big Brother Watchers, it's basically doing a lot of work with this. It's a massive surveillance operation, which just makes all fans suspects. It damages trusts, and it is a total waste of public money. And the other thing is, not Cardiff fans, football fans generally are treated like dirt. And I mean, they are just treated like animals everywhere they go, by the police, quite often by stewards. And the problem is a lot of the time when there's flare-ups, particularly the flare-ups which happen in and around the ground, they're often caused by overzealous policing. How many videos have you seen where like police are hitting the people at the front of a crowd of fans, where there's just people just stood there, they're not doing anything, they're not shouting, they're not being aggressive, they're just in the way, and they get hit with batons or CS spray or whatever, and it's worrying, mate, because I see what Cardiff is like on an international rugby day, and rugby fans are allowed into pubs and clubs with rugby shirts on. They're allowed to drink in the street. They're urinating in the street. They're doing fighting. There's more fights on a rugby day than there is on a football day in Cardiff. Yeah, they don't have any of the same restrictions. You can't go in pubs with Cardiff City shirts on. You can't drink in football grounds. You can't wear certain designer clothes because you wear designer clothes. That must mean you're a football hooligan. And people, they're just treated like dirt, mate. And I for one, am sick of it.
It's not right, is it? It's the thing is, why should you go to a football game and be taught be reprimanded like a criminal straight away? You know what I mean? You're going there to support your team. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Why would you keep going? And then you've got the added extra if you go there to enjoy it, and then the players don't give you the respect back. You know what I mean? So the whole enjoyment and the whole part of going to a game is just ruined from start to finish.
Yeah, spot on, mate. So yeah, I just wanted to have a little poke at that because I didn't like it one bit. So, right then, mate, let's have it. The fans voted for the games. The first 3 games are our main featured games where we'll have a bit more detail, but obviously we'll go through all the games. But the other games will be more of a fleeting glance, as it were. So first up, the people voted for Birmingham 2, Luton Town 1.
To be fair, I was fearful for Luton. Obviously, they got a good result. You know what I mean. So normally, after a good result, you know what I mean, a side like Luton, the Barnsley, the team who's going up, normally come down with a bit of a bump. And Birmingham started really well. They created a couple of chances, should have gone ahead before they did. They started really strongly, and went ahead with a very good goal. And then obviously when you're 1-0 down, and for me, Birmingham, I watched Birmingham quite closely against Middlesbrough a few weeks ago on the TV on the Friday, and I was really impressed with how much energy they had, how youthful the side was. You know what I mean? They had Big Jukovic up front who causes problems. He gets hold of the ball, he brings the youngsters into the game, and I think they could cause quite a lot of teams problems. But the longer the game went on, Luton came back into it. You know what I mean? Picked up second half. Collins had a great striker, hit the post, and then Izzy Brown, who was on loan from Chelsea, started to pick up pockets in good areas, and he slipped in Cormick, who smashed home. Great finish from a very acute angle. And then I think probably a draw was a fair result. But then I just spoke about the man there, about Jukovic, that you put balls in the box, he's going to cause problems. I watched him when he was at Middlesbrough quite a few years ago now. And back then he was a little bit more mobile than he is now. But now he's been a little bit more clever. He puts himself in a good position and feeds off a little bit more scraps and puts his head in where a lot of players wouldn't put the feet in. And his goal at the weekend, which was inside the last 6, 7, 8 minutes. And you know what I mean? Like I just said there, a lot of people wouldn't put the head in, wouldn't put the boot in. Sorry, and he put his head where the boots were flying and got himself the winning goal, and that was his first goal in a long time. And Birmingham they're sitting quite pretty in a league that I thought they would struggle in. You know what I mean? As I say, I don't think many Birmingham fans would have thought they'd be 11th in the league table. You know what I mean? With 22 points. You know what I mean? You're 2 points off the playoffs. You know what I mean? There's some massive clubs behind them. You know what I mean? And at the start of the season, I thought they'd struggle because they'd had a bit of turmoil, lost manager, lost players, and they're doing really well. Quite impressed.
Yeah, the thing I like about Birmingham is they just got these young players who play without fear. They got such a young squad. They bled in like the likes of Bellingham and people who are 16, 17. But the thing which really impressed me against Luton was Jukovic. He's so clever. So uses experience all over the pitch. Yeah, even for the goal, it's just like as the wing has got the ball, he's pushing. He's got a little hand in the back of the defender, or wherever it may be. When the ball's in the air, he's moving. His movement is just sublime. Yeah. And I just think when he holds the ball up and you've got these youthful players running off him, it's perfect for him because he does he gets the ball down or he flicks it on, and he just brings them into play constantly.
Well, you look at some of the teams side. You look at sides like Leeds United. You know what I mean, struggling for goals and struggling really, and that hold up play. You know what I mean. You've got a lad there, and it's no disrespect to Bristol City, to Birmingham City. You know what I mean, but he would probably suit playing with better players because he can hold the ball up. He does the stuff what nobody really wants him to do, and you know what I mean. I was quite disappointed when he left Middlesbrough, but I think Birmingham have got a very good player there, and the way that they use him, with the younger boys running off him, and like you said there, playing with no fear, I think that massively helps. Because the managers letting the players go out and just enjoy and just focus on just playing football and upsetting a lot of people, because you know what I mean, if you put pressure on them, you know what I mean, you wouldn't really be able to perform at the level what they need to perform, especially in the Championship, because there's some brutal teams to play against, you know what I mean, physically and experience. So you know what I mean, the young boys are doing so far so good.
Yeah, they showed a little bit of naivety to let Luton back in here, where they made him gave the ball away, and Izzy Brown, you know, he pinched it and he puts Cornick in. But you know, you got to expect that with young players who are they're going to
give the ball away. You know, that happened to Middlesbrough as well. You know what I mean? Bellingham, I thought, was excellent against Middlesbrough, but he gets caught in possession because they're trusting with the ball. You know what I mean? Where it's a matter of time, year, 2, 6 months, he could be in a Premier League player. So you know what I mean. He's been trusted with the football in dangerous areas, and I think it'll continue.
Yeah, I thought both keepers were very good in this game. Actually,
they were.
Shea and Lee Camp. There's
a
few good keepers this weekend.
I think they got. I think they both got a little bit of luck as well with the post. The post helped both keepers out this weekend, but you know what I mean. Sometimes you earn that little bit of luck. You know what I mean. We've been quite critical on goalkeepers this year, and rightly so. You know what I mean. But yeah, there's been a couple of quite a few displays this weekend who really impressed me, and those two are one of them.
Problem with Birmingham, I think they may have, is I don't know if they've got the funds to strengthen in January.
I think they'll lose players as well, Si. I do. I think they'll lose, and you know what I mean. Will they be able to strengthen with the money that they bring in, or will they be able to keep players and strengthen? You know, it's impossible because they, like you said, they haven't got the funds, and you know what I mean. And if they're not in and around the playoffs, who's going to sign for them? Because it's about ambition as well, and you know what I mean. A Birmingham City fan will probably be happy with where they are now and what the season looks like so far, and rightly so. You know what I mean? Because if I could take Birmingham's position right now, I'd take it.
Okay, go on, John. Well, the thing is, mate, at the start of the season, I think we tipped them for relegation, so we're on fire again.
Yep.
But also, you know, their fans realistically probably thought they were going to be, you know, looking at a season battling relegation. So it's one of them, and like I'm sure now they would take a comfortable, you know, finish 11th, 12th, not in a relegation battle, nice comfortable season, and then try and build on it.
Yeah.
But then equally, if you get a couple of decent loan signings in January and hold on to your young players till at least the end of the season, you could get in the playoffs. And
you've got to check. Well, I think the playoffs is a lottery. You know what I mean? And a packed out St Andrews. You know what I mean? On a Sunday afternoon, you know what I mean? It's not a very nice place to go to, you know what I mean? So it could be anybody's, and you know what I mean? There's always teams. We spoke about this start of the season, side about who we fancy to go up, go down, get in the playoffs. I was surprised this season. Birmingham are up there at the minute with the surprises, but the players that they've got and the young players who are performing, how can I be surprised? Because I've watched these players live a couple of times now, and they're impressing me more and more and more. And you know what I mean? Part of me hopes they do stay and they see the season out, because they need to play football regularly, because if they go to the Premier League side, they sit on the bench, etc. And I don't think it's good for a footballer's development. But then part of me thinks these players should be performing and having their platform at the best, highest level and playing with the best possible players. So, you know what I mean? I'm in a quandary at the minute with the situation. And as a player, sometimes you want to go and win something, or go and play with the best players and go in the Champions League and play at Old Trafford, or you know what I mean? So it's a difficult one sometimes, but I hope Birmingham can carry on the form, because it'd be a shame if they did lose a player or two and end up plummeting down the league, because it wouldn't really be fair.
Yeah, I think just finishing off on that now. Let's use Bellingham as the example. Obviously, he's 16, 17. If, in my opinion, he should stay at Birmingham for 2 years, 2 more years, till he's 19, and he'll have 60, 70, 80 games at championship level under his belt. Now, the other option is if a perceived bigger club in the championship come in for him, then all right, yeah, I can kind of see, okay, go with that because you're still going to be playing week in, week out.
Yeah.
And even if it's a big club like you're United, Tottenham, someone like that who like to bring in or looking to bring in like young English players, it's not the right time for him to go there at 16. He's playing first team football now. You go to Man United, he's going to be in the youth team or the under 21s, or you go to Tottenham, they're going to loan him back. But all right, might be great, but don't loan him back. Stay there for 2 years and really hone your craft.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, also, your head can be turned a little bit because I remember it happened originally to Dele Alli. So Dele Alli was at MK Dons. He signed for Spurs but got loaned back to MK Dons. And already in your head, you're a little bit starstruck because you're not an MK Dons player anymore. You're a Premier League player. You know what I mean? Straight away, there's more expectation on you. You know what I mean? Do you really want to be there anymore? Do you really want to be there? You know what I mean? Jude Bellingham's played 10 games in the Championship. He's 16 years old. He scored 2 goals in the Championship. He's 16 years old. You know what I mean? By the end of the season, he's going to be play 25 games plus in the Championship, plus FA Cup games potentially. You know what I mean? He could have scored 5, 6, 7 goals, maybe double figures if he has a really good end to the season or good Christmas, or he gets bags a couple of goals and. You know what I mean? And already there'll be scouts watching him play 100%. But, you know what I mean? Like you say there, you've got to be fair to the boy and give him an opportunity to play football because, you know what I mean? The amount of players who aren't playing is just is rubbish. And, you know what I mean? I know his dad's an ex-professional football, an ex-semi-professional footballer who played for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. So hopefully he has a big input in his son's career.
Yeah, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? That it's obviously he's got experience with it, so you'd like to think he'd give him some top advice, having been there and experienced it, himself and stuff. So next up, we got Preston North End, the relegation tipped by Andy Campbell, 3, and Blackburn Rovers 2. Embarrassing you.
Well, first half there were relegation form, so I was I was correct because they started horrendous. They started shocking. They were 1-0 down after a minute, and I think it was less than a minute. To be fair, it was seconds, and it was. I was a little bit disappointed with this because Gallagher hadn't scored a goal I think he hasn't scored in something like 12 games, and it was an excellent header. It's on target. It's a half decent. I think it was a little bit of a fingertip save by the goalkeeper. Hits the post, hits the keeper on the back of the head or the back, and goes in. And I was a little bit disappointed for him. You know what I mean? The way because I thought, what's the chance of that happening? And then his first goal, when he cut in on the right hand side, cut inside on his left foot, and just bent it beautifully past Rudd. And I thought it was absolutely outstanding. And to be honest, I didn't see them getting back into it. Local derby or no local derby, I certainly didn't see that happening because regardless how well Preston have done, I thought the season soon has got to change and to go back to the Preston of old, or letting goals in, and you know what I mean, and not scoring many goals, but they turned it around excellently. They got themselves back in just after half time with a header by Barkison. After a cutback by Maguire, and then Johnson got a penalty, which was absolutely blatant, and I'm surprised it wasn't a red card, to be fair, because he's pulled him back, and
disgusting.
For me, I thought the rule was if it's a professional foul, it was a red card, and then I thought that you don't get punished twice, so it's not. But then sometimes I'm seeing teams getting red cards for professional fouls, goalkeepers getting red cards, but then he doesn't get punished. So I'm confused with the whole thing, basically. But he took the penalty away again. I don't know how many penalties he scored this season, Johnson. But I think that's at least 4 or 5. And You know what I mean? He's making a name for himself from the spot. And then Barkison scored it with an absolute wonder goal from the left-hand side, cutting, bent it in top corner, and a fitting way to win any game. But a derby is even better.
Yeah, Barkhausen was exceptional all game. He just gives them something different. Obviously, Preston were very poor in the first half. But Blackburn, I think, give them credit, were good as well. You know, that opening goal so quickly into the game, obviously has set the tone, and I think it took them a while to get going again. And from what Alex Neil said, he gave him a bit of a rock in half time.
I seen that interview. You know what I mean? He's the kind of manager who goes down the route of hairdryer treatment, and you know what I mean. The thing is, it's a derby game. You know what I mean? You're 2-0 down at home to Blackburn Rovers. You know what I mean? You're not playing Man United. You're not playing a side who's going to be potentially up there. You know what I mean? That Tony Mowbray, he changes his squad a little bit. He had Stewie Downing on the bench. He made a couple of changes, and he went for a little bit more of a rugged formation with a few ball winners to try and win a derby. And you know what I mean, his tactics look spot on first half, but second half Preston just turned up to a different just a different gear, and you know what I mean, got themselves back into it, and then they finished off like a train, and Blackburn just couldn't cope in the end. And you know what I mean, 3-2 probably should have been 4-2, but you know what I mean, Preston are flying, second in the league, and certainly proven us wrong. But not just us, I think, Si. I think every single football fan in the Championship would never ever have picked Preston to be in the top 10, never mind the top 6 or 2.
No, you're right. And I will say, as good as Preston were in the second half, I thought Blackburn made it easy for him. The first goal, I don't know what the keeper was doing, but it was, he was all over the shop.
But he showed. I think he thought he was going to go for a goal kick.
First goal. No, it was the first goal.
I think he thought he was going to go for a goal kick, and then the lads headed it back, and then it's
great
gone in.
Header,
and I thought it was a great penalty, but I thought, you know what I mean? I thought even just communication for the defender. You know what I mean? Did he have to pull him back? You know what I mean? For me, he's potentially going away from goal. You know what I mean? Or just tell him to send him away.
Shouldn't have been in that position though, should he?
He's let the ball run as well. It's awful defending. But you know what I mean. But then he's tried to resurrect it by pulling him back. But
the first defender, instead of trying to it bounces sort of waist height. So instead of just clearing it over his head as far as he can get it, he kind of dangles a foot and it just knocks it back like a yard.
Yeah.
Which gives the striker a sniff. So he accelerates, and then the other central defender's got a decision to make. He's got to either pull him down or he's got to risk, the boy getting there quickly and knocking it in. He was going away from goal, but I think most defenders would have probably done the similar. He just didn't do it very
tactfully.
Yes,
yeah,
it was quite blatant.
Instead of just having a hold and then letting go, he's had a hold and then got a bigger hold, and by then the lad's going to go down. He's got every right to go down. Every right to go down.
Yeah, and it should have been a red, mate. Should have been a red.
Yeah.
I think if Preston can sort their defence out in terms of keeping clean sheets regular, they could be in with a real chance of going up. Because
I watched him at Middlesbrough side. I watched him at Middlesbrough,
forward.
And I was I looked at the team and I thought, do you know what? There's not one player in that side who's a world beater, but put them all together on a piece of paper, they're a good side. You know what I mean? Deepdale's a hard place to go to. They're creating chances, they're scoring goals, and they're continuing this, by the way. And then away from home, they seem to be picking results up. Probably not wins, but points. And a point away and a win at home, that's championship winning form. Absolute championship winning form. And you know what I mean? The league tables don't lie, Si. You know what I mean? Regardless of what our predictions were and what people say, league tables do not lie. And they are where they are because they deserve to be where they are. They're scoring goal after goal, they're creating chances. You know what I mean? And they're not normally letting goals in. You know what I mean? They let a couple in on Saturday afternoon, and you know what I mean? Alex Neil won't be happy with it one little bit, but you know what I mean? He knows he's got goals in that team, and he knows if he can not let as many goals in his own end, they're going to cause a lot of teams problems because of the way they play. You know what I mean? They've got pace with Maguire. You've got Johnson, who's got pace to burn. You know what I mean? Who good set pieces. You've got Gallagher, who free kicks, corners. He's setting goals up. You know what I mean? Scores goals. And then you got the lad who scored two goals, Barkhuizen, who's on fire from the weekend and scoring goals as well. So, you know what I mean? It's people are chipping in at the right time for games and getting Preston right where they want to be.
Yeah, Daniel Johnson, I think was excellent again. He's been really good all
consistent
season. Next up, we got the South Wales derby. Swansea 1, Cardiff City 0.
After all the excitement, mate, I thought it was a little bit of a dead rubber for me. You know what I mean? There was. I talk about tempo. You know what I mean? And I've never played in a South Wales derby. You know what I mean? Probably the closest game for a South Wales derby or a proper hatred game for me for when I played for Cardiff was against Leeds United. You know what I mean? So straight away, the tactic from the manager is win your first tackle. It's going to be a war. You know what I mean? So for the first 10, 15 minutes, you know that you're not going to have any time on the ball. It's going to be a little bit of a mismatch. You know what I mean? But you're going to get stuck in. You're going to try and win your battles. And if you can get an early goal, it'll calm the crowd down or get everybody going. And I just didn't see that happening. You know what I mean? I thought I was just a little bit let down. There wasn't any tempo there. I looked at the team and I was obviously disappointed with people missing from previous games, and you know what I mean, people injured, and that can't be helped. But you know what I mean, I looked at the team, and you know what I mean, for me, it was probably the tactics and the tactics on the side probably wasn't right for me personally. You know what I mean, and I'm not here to criticise Neil Warnock, who's an excellent manager, and you know what I mean, he was being promoted more times than people have had hot dinners. But you know what I mean, for me, I would have put Bakuna in there. You know what I mean, and solely because of the way that he plays and he gets stuck in. I know what happened last weekend about him, that he brought him off early, but for me, you know what I mean, even a Vokes, you know what I mean, because I looked at the kind of game it was, and you know what I mean, he knows more than anybody what kind of game it is with him being Welsh. You know what I mean, and sometimes you got to take that into account. And you know what I mean, you know what I mean. I'm a big Marlon Pack fan. I am I'm a massive fan. I think he's an excellent addition. But his derby will probably be Bristol City Cardiff. Do you know what I mean? And that's not me being disrespectful to him. You know what I mean? And say he didn't put a shift in, because in there you haven't got a choice by putting a shift in. But I think sometimes when you're not from the area and you don't know the heritage, or you don't know the kind of game it is, sometimes you get lost in the moment, or the game just passes you by. And I think that's when I was watching the game, I just couldn't keep my eye off the clock as well. That the game is just passing by, and looking again. Geez, we played 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Oh, geez, it's half time. We're getting beat 1-0. You know, we've got 45 minutes left, and there was just zero quality. There was, you know what I mean? Defensively, they looked all over the place at times. You know what I mean? Midfield, there was no probably consistency, no continuity. You know what I mean? Out wide, we spoke about how strong they are out wide side. You know what I mean? About who he plays. Does he play White? Does he play Mendes Lang? Does he play Junior Hoylett? Does he play Murphy? And I'm just naming 4 players there who could play in the Premier League, and there was nothing from anyone who played in the wide areas. And if you don't get anything from the wide areas at times, you're never going to score goals. And you know what I mean? And it was such a disheartening display, you know what I mean? And the players will be hurting, you know what I mean? But for me, and you spoke about at the start of the show, they weren't hurting enough to then go out and sit and say sorry to the supporters, and I think that sometimes that's another story for itself as well.
Yeah, I agree. So I've got a few things to say. It might surprise you to know.
I'm not actually.
So what's the point in having this big centre forward, Glatzel, up front, if you give him nothing to work with but scraps? Yes, yeah. I thought he could have worked harder. Yes, I thought he could have run the channels a bit, or just given a bit more. But we had nothing coming in from crosses wide. We got 4, like you just named, 4 good wingers, 4 top championship wingers who on their day can play in the Premier League, talent-wise.
Easily.
The problem for all 4 is they're not consistent enough.
Yeah.
And particularly a couple of them, they just don't seem to be able to put it off in the big games. Yeah. Now, Swansea didn't come into this on fire. They've been struggling.
They got beaten heavily on Tuesday, Wednesday night by Brentford 3-0, and you know what I mean. It could have been a lot more, by the way. You know what I mean. So I fully expected Cardiff to get into them from the first minute. You know what I mean, and just to compile a misery on Swansea City, but it just didn't happen. And go back to your point there, Si, about Glatzel, and I think with him being a better player than Zaha. You know what I mean? And we're still playing. There's a Hall tactic of getting the ball. He's not used to it, I don't think. You know what I mean? He's used to a cultured ball. He can get hold of it. He can bring people into play. He can play off shoulders. He can run into the channels. But he needs that 10. He needs that players. He needs those players in and around him. You know what I mean? If you're smashing balls up to him, he's not going to enjoy it. He's going to get frustrated. I think he certainly looks like he was getting annoyed on Sunday afternoon. When he's feeding on scraps, like you say, and you know what I mean. Whereas I think Zaha expected it and thrived on that kind of service because he didn't have the ability that Glatzel has. But these tactics have got to. It's not like they're not training every day and they haven't worked on something all week. We've had international breaks where they've had opportunities to work for weeks and weeks and weeks on these certain things, and you know what I mean. It's just not coming together at the minute, and. You know what I mean? And I'll name the two sides now. We're on about Cardiff City and Fulham. The two sides that I think I named certainly to be in the top two, if not the top three. I couldn't be further away from the truth at the minute because the big players and the players who I was expecting to come to the show week in, week out are just not doing it as consistent as I expected them to in the Championship. And I don't know if are they waiting for a move in January to get back to the Premier League, or are they just underperforming? I just don't know at the minute.
Yeah, I have in all my I'm 38 in a couple of weeks.
I thought you forgot how old you were there.
Yeah, I'm 38 in a couple of weeks. Okay, and I can not remember seeing a Neil Warnock side be this disorganised defensively ever. Yeah. Even worse sides than this as well. Like from a talent and quality point of view, they look all over the shop, mate. At the point, they were better in the second half, but the first half, all over the place.
Yeah, but players-wise, Si, players-wise, you know what I mean. He's probably working with the best set of defenders he's ever worked with in his career, and they look all over the place. You know what I mean. He's like you just said there. He's had less players to work with when he took over. You know what I mean. The players he had to work with, you know what I mean, weren't half as good as they are now. Even the players who were there then when he had them weren't half the players that they are now. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So his recruitment's been excellent, but the players are massively letting him down, which I think is happening. You know what I mean? But I'll go back to what I said at the start of the season. I was concerned when he came out and said that he was leaving at the end of the season. I think massively concerned. And it's given people, the football club, an excuse to underperform this year because if they do well, then everyone will say, we've done it for the manager. He was leaving. It was always going to happen. It was written in the stars. And if they don't do well, it's because the manager. It's because the manager said he was leaving. It gives everybody a way to cop out, and I can't buy into that because it's a waste of a season. It's a waste of a year, and that football club needs to be back in the Premier League, but it needs to be back in the playoffs to have an opportunity to get back in that Premier League because. You know what I mean? I look at the way that the league's shaping out and some of the sides that are up there. Some of the ones that are surprising me, but there's still a few of the teams who I thought would be up there who are starting to go on half decent runs or for me will pick up a little bit. And but Cardiff need to do it. They need to do it and they need to do it very fast. But you can go back and you can rewatch probably the last 5-6 shows. I've said that for the last 5 weeks now, and I'm probably getting bored of saying it because. You know what I mean? The gap's going to be too big. You know what I mean? And then you've got January coming around the corner, and will people snaffle players and turn heads like Bobby Reid got turned, or this Would Bobby Reid have made an impact on Sunday afternoon? 100%. Well, 1,000,000%. I think he would have. You know what I mean? He's direct. He's got pace. You know what I mean? And for me, I think we've missed a little bit of a trick. But if the players doesn't want to be there, listen. It's best if you leave. But then what happens if that happens on January the 1st and 5 or 6 players want to leave? What do we do? What do we say then? Do we say goodbye to all them lot as well?
So here's my point with Bobby Reid. All right, he wants to go. He's homesick or whatever. He wants to go back to London. Wicked. Great. Good luck to him. That's fine. But he's only allowed to leave when they've signed someone. If they can't sign anyone to replace him, tough. Yeah. You've got to stay till January, mate. Sorry, and put a shift in. Because the one thing, or one of the main things Cardiff are lacking is creativity and pace.
Yeah.
Bobby Reid. Now, I'm not saying he's the answer to everything. We haven't got a number 10 who can, and the formation that Warnock is playing needs a number 10. Yeah. Without a number 10, they is so disjointed because you've got Joe Rawls, Pack, and Bacuna in midfield. Bacuna and Pack can win the ball, and Joe Rawls can pick a pass. But he's got no one to pass to because the wingers are underperforming, the striker's isolated, and there's no one linking it all together, creating angles, creating little through balls through behind the fullback or inside the centre back. There's nothing. There's no creativity there. So,
but I think we're easy marks as well. Though. I think we're easy marks because at the minute all you've got to do is go tight to the wingers. You know what I mean? Because like you said, they've got no 10. And if you double up on the centre forward, you know what I mean. If the ball's coming up the top, let him flick it on. We win the ball back straight away, or we send him back to where he doesn't want to go because there's no runner going in behind us. So you know what I mean. At the minute, it's criminal, really. You know what I mean. For me, I would have liked to see something just off the cuff. You know what I mean. Let's go 4-4-2. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's do something out of the ordinary. You know what I mean. And go Bogle and Gratzel up front. You know what I mean. And plant the ball forward and play off scraps and at high press and put balls in the box from fullbacks, from wide men, from wingers, and let's give the centre forwards exactly what they want. You know what I mean? But I don't know. We just been talking about this for 5 minutes or so, more than that. We haven't mentioned Danny Ward once. And you know why? Because he did not do anything. And that's not me slagging him off, saying he was like dreadful. He didn't do anything. He didn't contribute. He didn't get on the ball. He didn't move off the ball. He was non-existent. Yeah, and that's the first time this season. I think we're saying that though, because he's been outstanding. He's been
one of the few shining lights.
He's been outstanding this season. You know what I mean? But the one game that the fans needed him to perform, the manager needed him to perform was Sunday lunchtime, and you know what I mean. And it was just the thing is, it's not a one-man team. It's not Donny Ward's fault that we got beat.
No.
You know, but it's the big name players have to put a shift in and bring their A game to these big games. You know what I mean? Because when they play Leeds United, when they play Swansea City, when they play Bristol City, when they play West Bromwich Albion, you know, these are the games that you want to play in. These are the games that you know what I mean. You want to run through a brick wall for your manager, for each other, for the fans, and you know what I mean. And that's 5 teams I've just named there. That's 10 games. That's nearly a quarter of your season. Do you know what I mean? And then you've still got other bigger games. You know what I mean? Because there's a few surprises, and it's criminal. You know what I mean? But they need to do it quickly, mate, because they can't. You know what I mean? What we've had 13 games. You know what I mean? We can't keep saying the same thing again and again and again, because by the time we know it's going to be Christmas, and by then the league certainly will be shaped in a way that you're either playing catch up to a West Brom, to a Leeds, to a Sheffield Wednesday, or a Preston North End, or Bristol City even. You know what I mean? And a Swansea City even. And that's not what I want. That's not what I want.
So I'll just finish off on Cardiff by saying, or making 2 points. Number one, at the start of the show, when I mentioned fans and players going to see him, I stuck up for Sean Morrison. I said he kept the score down almost single-handedly. And he did. He made three last-minute blocks, last-ditch tackles. However, this season, he's not been good enough.
Yeah.
As simple as that. He has not been too slow on the ball, too slow off the ball, too slow turning, just not good enough. If we're going to play Aidan Flint as one of the centre-backs, he needs someone with a bit of pace next to him.
Yeah.
Whether that's Bamba, I don't know. I'm still not 100% sure that he is the answer to that problem. However, at the moment, he is, because they haven't got really anyone else who can do it, unless they move one of the fullbacks in or they put Bakuna there, which is a risk. Secondly, Cardiff City should not be in this position from a tactical and squad point of view and personnel point of view, with the size of the club, the amount of money they had to spend, and the transfer window. They were relegated last day of the season, or the last couple of games of the season. They knew they were going down, should have been prepared. They had 6 weeks of summer, or whatever it is, 7 weeks summer, to prepare. They didn't prepare. Yes, they brought in Pack, great signing. Flint, good signing.
Yeah.
Didn't sign a striker till the very last minute.
Yeah.
And the striker they've signed, I would argue, is not necessarily a new player, because he's basically a replacement for Zaha.
Yeah.
They haven't signed like a new striker, a new number 10 or a new attacker. They didn't replace Bobby Reid. They brought in Gavin White, who I think's been pretty good.
Yeah.
But they haven't strengthened. They needed a midfielder. Why haven't they signed Joe Ledley? Because Joe Ledley will do a job, and he'll probably give more for the Cardiff City badge than those players on Sunday did. Why isn't Volks playing?
Yeah.
These are personnel things which either weren't addressed in the transfer window, or the manager is refusing to address now. That's a problem, because the fans are going to turn. And if the fans turn, it becomes a huge problem, because then you've got this thing where the fans and the team are not pulling in the same direction.
Yep.
And Cardiff have been there, done that. They need the fans to be on side. And as we'll discuss later in the show, because there's about 75 questions about it, I'm not 100% sure whether they should let Warnock see out the rest of the season as manager. Not saying he should leave completely, but something needs to be addressed quickly.
Yeah.
Not just because of this game, because this has been going on now for months. Swansea right as well, though, isn't he?
Swansea deserved to win. I'll finish off with that, and I thought they were excellent. You know what I mean? I was concerned to watch them after the way that they've been playing recently. You know what I mean? And I thought it was Cardiff City's day, because they were down on the luck, down on the confidence. But these kind of games, it's a turning point. You know what I mean? And you spoke about it last week about turning points in the season, and I picked the Brentford game out, and I said that they'll turn on Tuesday night. They didn't. They got absolutely walloped at home, and then they turned it around in a game that I probably didn't expect them to. And good luck to them, fair play, because you know what I mean, that you look at the really bad run they've been on, and they've been on the shocker, and then you looked at they've won one game, the fourth in the league, and they've won one game in the last 5. So you know what I mean, it shows how well they started the season. So you know what I mean, it's not all doom and gloom for Cardiff. You know what I mean, 14th in the league, but they need to pick up quickly, because you know what I mean, the gap's only 6 points to the playoffs, but at 6 points if you win the games and other teams lose, you know what I mean? But if you continue to drop points and in big games or games you're expected to win, it's 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and people can't afford to do that.
Yeah, I thought Wayne Routledge was excellent. I thought he did a really good game, and it just reminded me how much I wanted him at Cardiff when he nearly signed and he went to Swansea instead.
Yeah.
I also thought Ayo was very good up front.
I thought he was. Yeah, led the line, and I think that's my point about Gratzel. You know what I mean? That they gave Ayew the balls, and he got the balls in the areas that he wanted, and he caused those problems.
Well, what he did, he ran the channels, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he did, but he put the balls in the channels for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't put the ball in the channel, you can't run onto it. Gratzel can't run onto it. Gratzel's flicking balls on in the air where he wants to run the balls in the channel, but he's only doing what the manager's telling him to do. I know that sounds stupid, doesn't it? But
that's the problem, isn't it? Maybe the tactics are wrong. They're not playing to the players they've got. I think we discussed this off air rather than on air. But so what we were saying is basically Cardiff don't have the players to play the type of football they're trying to play. They're trying to play this sort of possession-based football, build in from the back, whereas the players they've got are more direct, play it up to the striker, play it down the sides, play with wide players, and then play off that. the midfielders they've got are ball winners and aggressive, usually, rather than technically gifted, other than Joe Rolls, you'd say. They're not playing to the personnel they've got, which goes back to the personnel thing I was saying, but also they're not playing like a Warnock team. They're not defending like they did. How many 1-0 wins did they get when they got promoted?
Oh, Lord. It was a record.
Like
it was a record, wasn't it? It was a record. Nathan Etheridge, he looked. He was a world beater, wasn't he? Because he was keeping clean sheet after clean sheet, and he wasn't pulling off as many saves. He's never been so busy since he's come back in goal, and that's my concern. And he's also making saves as well, and he's letting goals in. So this is the concerning thing for me now, because we're on paper we're defensively strong, midfield, back four, back five, whichever the manager decides to do, but offensively, we're not helping the defence out because we're not keeping the ball up there as long as we need, and it's causing us big problems.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say is I thought two Swansea centre backs I thought were absolutely outstanding.
Oh yeah,
the whole game.
Super, yeah. Mountains all both of them, yeah.
So next up, we'll move to the other games. We got Huddersfield 2, Barnsley 1.
Well, I'll start by saying, mate, what a job the Cowley brothers are doing. Do you know what I mean? I've made no secret. You know what I mean? I wanted to see those two brothers in Middlesbrough when Middlesbrough didn't have a manager, and I was so disappointed that they didn't get that opportunity. But do you know what? They took the time in identifying what was wrong, and now they're on a 6-game unbeaten. They got they're unbeaten all the way through October. And you know what? I'm absolutely buzzing for them, because you know what I mean. We said that how concerned we both were about they were falling like a stone. They were letting goal in after goal. It was quite embarrassing, really. You know what I mean? They weren't scoring goals, and the goals they were scoring were fluke goals, and they were all over the place. And I saw them against the highlights against Barnsley, and they were creating chance after chance. Scored 2 very good goals. Could have been 4, 5, and 6 easily. Barnsley missed some absolute sitters again, and I'll be honest, I'm really worried for them. You know what I mean? I have been for a few weeks, and they're missing some sitters. They're shipping so many goals, and just chances. You know what I mean? I know when you're 2-1 down, you've got to go and attack and try and get back in the game. But they just look so open, and every time teams attack against them, they just look like they're gonna give a goal away, and it must be heart and mouth time every time the attacking team gets the ball for a Barnsley fan, because they just look all over the place.
They create some chances, though, don't they, Barnsley? Jeez.
They're doing some of the easy ones, and you know what I mean. Last week I was really critical about some of the chances they missed, and it was the same again today. Same again at the weekend. You know what I mean? And you can't afford to miss these kind of chances at 1-0 down, because a big opportunity to get back in the game. Goals change games, and you can't afford to give teams of Huddersfield, because regardless of the league tables don't lie. I get that, but the manager's come in now and he's changed that whole football club around in a space of 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and he's got them out. He's got them out of the bottom 3, which I thought was an impossibility the way they were playing at the start of the season. You know what I mean? We spoke about Stoke City being underachieving. You know what I mean? And probably being the team that I expected to get out there first. And I can't see Huddersfield going back in it. I'll be honest, I can't. You know, I can see them going up the table, and I don't know how far up the table they'll end up getting. But certainly they deserve to win on Saturday, and I think they'll continue to pick some vital points up and go unbeaten as long as they can, because that's obviously the manager's plan to stay unbeaten. And you know what I mean, 6 all the way through October, and can he go through November? Same thing, you know what I mean. So manager of the month for me this month's got to be Danny Cowley, because of the way he's turned around that football club. Yeah,
absolutely. They haven't lost for 6 games. They've taken 11 from 15 in October. 11 points from 15 in October. It's 1 away from a perfect record.
Yeah, well, I watched them against Middlesbrough through the week as well, and it was a dreadful game. You know what I mean? It massively lacked quality. But the way he set up that he knew Middlesbrough weren't going to beat them. You know what I mean? He had chances, of course he did. You know what I mean? They could have won the game. Middlesbrough could have won the game on another day. They missed a sitter. But you could just feel that Huddersfield weren't going to lose the game. The longer the game was going to go, I thought the Huddersfield would have probably won it. But I'm glad they didn't. You know what I mean? Got a point on the board for Middlesbrough, but I was really impressed with just the tactics of Danny Cowley and how he's just turned it around. You know what I mean? How he's changed his players' mentality. It's just fantastic. So, you know what I mean? It'll be interesting to see how long this can continue for. See if it can.
Yeah, I think I said last week that I think Barnsley, if they can get a proven goal scorer in, I think they'll be all right because they are creating chances. They're playing quite well, but they just shipping goals. It's almost like they need like one centre back and one striker, and then they may kind of all come together, but they just miss so many chances and they always concede.
It just costs money, Si, unfortunately, as well, though. You know what I mean? Who's gonna in January potentially they're going to be bottom of the league like they are. Who's going to sign for Barnsley bottom of the league on the with the carrot of keeping us in the Championship and being a League One player next season? It's a difficult ask. You know what I mean? Or their best option is getting a young player on loan from a Premier League club, but then the expectation on a young boy's shoulders will be to get relegated. Is, you know what I mean? Teams sometimes wouldn't put young players in that situation and put that burden on their shoulders. So it's a difficult one.
I put it this way: as a Cardiff fan, I would swap Jacob Brown for Sean Morrison in a swap deal. I like Jacob Brown. He scored a really good goal as well for Barnsley, and I think he could be playoff Glatzel.
Yeah,
tidy. But there we go. If Sean wants a fresh start after his weekend. Next up, Hull 2, Derby 0, Derby.
Yeah, I think the story of the season, mate, is you just don't know which Derby county is going to turn up, and I think Philip Cocu he's on a knife edge at the minute. I think obviously with the imminent arrival of Wayne Rooney, I think he's going to put even more pressure on him. I think his days could be numbered, to be fair, because Hull's not really a place to go where you're not expecting to go and pick a victory up. You know, they had enough chances. Lawrence had a couple of really good chances which he should have scored. He should have done a little bit better. But defensively, they look absolutely all over the place. And you know, I don't know if he's asking them to play in a certain way which the players aren't comfortable with, about playing out from the back and overplaying. But you know what I mean, Hull just got the tactics spot on. They put the ball over the top to Jared Bowen. They got the ball out wide. They put crosses in the box, and you know what I mean, Bowen scored himself 2 very good goals. And on another day, he probably could have or probably should have got his hat trick. And you know what I mean, he's having a very good season. And there's no way in the world he will be at that football club in January. And if he is, then Hull City have offered him a very, very, very good deal and a new contract, because you know what I mean, the boy is just ripping the Championship up week in, week out. He's impressing me, you know what I mean. And obviously you knew a lot about him, when we were talking about him at the start of the season, and he's certainly applying himself to every single game, week in, week out. He's creating chances, or he's scoring goals. This is regular now. It's not just a one-off. He's doing really well.
40 goals in the last, I think it's 12 months, in 40 league goals.
How old is he?
He's early 20s, I think.
You know what I mean? So he's a baby, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's got an opportunity to, you know what I mean? I think a Premier League move will be too much for him. You know what I mean? For me, in all honesty, I think a top Championship side to get promoted and to push them onto another level, I think would be a perfect move for him. You know what I mean? And play in the Premier League potentially with the side that he helps push up. But I think, you know what I mean? I think he's got to
as well.
Yeah, he's got to leave. I think he knits things together. He doesn't just play as a 9. He comes off the shoulder. He can play as a 10. He can play as a 3 up front. You know what I mean? So I think, but you've said it regular about Cardiff City, about breaking
22.
The bank. You know what I mean? 22-year-old. So he's streetwise. He knows the league. He's played in that league for a good few years now. And you know what I mean? I think he needs to leave. He needs to progress his football career now. I think he's done his apprenticeship with Hull City, and it's time to progress on for himself, and then that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, so far this season he's played right wing, left wing, striker, number 10, and he played a false 9 on Saturday. So, you know, he's versatile. He can play wherever, and
he scores goals from anywhere.
Yeah, and what did we just say? Cardiff City are lacking number 10,
creativity,
wingers, strikers.
Yeah.
You know, basically any of those positions.
Yeah,
and he's
he can
quality,
do, and he can do them all. Yeah, he can do them all. Yeah, but then my concern is Neil Warnock's quite stubborn in his ways of when he brings players in that he'll stick them on the bench, and you know what I mean, there's no point in bringing a player in of his quality and put him on the bench. It's be a waste. So you know what I mean. And that.
Go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, Derby. I think it was about 2 episodes back, maybe 3, that I thought that if I said in a couple of weeks coming up to Christmas, if Derby, or a couple of weeks coming up to December, if Derby are going to lose a couple of games, the pressure's going to be on. They're going to be struggling, just as Wayne Rooney's coming in over Christmas, and it looks like it's shipping up right to be. It's like they're almost like meeting, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they don't look like they're getting any better. They'll pick up a win and then they'll lose 2, and it's kind of like, oh, he's going, and Rooney's going to take over. It's perfect timing for him.
It's the consistency side for me. You know what I mean? Derby have used to being in the playoffs, and you know what I mean. They're so far behind in terms of consistency. Away from home, they just look all over the place. At home, Pride Park, you know what I mean. They create chances to score goals, but you know what I mean. They're going to Hull City there, and you know what I mean. They're comfortably getting beaten. You know what I mean? They had a couple of chances. Lawrence probably should have scored. They should have taken the lead, but defensively, they were all over the place. And you know, I mean, that's not like Derby. Especially last season. Last season, they were one of the most consistent sides and playing really well.
For the last few seasons, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's I don't know. Maybe it's the recruitment of the new manager was wrong, and you know what I mean. It was a little bit of a big gamble bringing in somebody of his stature and the way that he wanted to play, and not knowing the league really. Maybe that's the downfall.
Well, as we've discussed with Middlesbrough, mate, is when you want to change way a team plays at a fundamental level, and you're completely changing how they approach every game, where they're on the ball, off the ball, tactically, formation, everything. It takes time, and it takes the players buying into it. Because if they don't buy into it, they kind of, I don't want to say they half-ass it, but they don't feel comfortable, so then it doesn't work. And I feel like that's happening, and we're going on to the Middlesbrough game next. I feel like that's kind of happening there a bit as well.
Yeah,
so let's move on to the Middlesbrough game. It's Middlesbrough 0, Fulham 0. On paper, to me, looks like a good point.
Yeah, but... they're both. And for me, the big picture of the game, you know what I mean. Middlesbrough started all right, actually. You know what I mean. In the first half, first 15 minutes, created a couple of chances, and then all of a sudden, the goalkeeper gets himself sent off for deliberate handball outside the box. Blatant red card for me, fully deserved. But the problem I've gotten then is the negativity of the tactics from the manager, the way that Fulham then. Scotty Parker got his tactics spot on. He sat and he counter-attacked, and Middlesbrough just did not have a clue what to do. He played Paddy McNair centre-half from the outset and kept him there for the full game, apart from the last 7 minutes, which he moved him further forward. Too late. These kind of decisions are vital. You know what I mean? Yes, you've got the best centre-forward in the league, but... They didn't have any support up to him because of the way the game was going. You know what I mean? He had Knockout on the bench anyway. So for me, he had a chance to get a massive 3 points. He had a chance to get them and to beat them. Fulham and not travelling very well at the minute. You know what I mean? So he had a really good opportunity to pick 3 points up. And then you've got the problem I've got, Si, is the interviews after the game. I don't know if you've seen Jonathan Woodgate's interview.
I haven't, no.
But he came out with his comment, and the comment summed on the lines of. We were doing okay until a man got sent off, and then the game was over because the goalkeeper got sent off. Well, it's 17 minutes gone. You've got 73 minutes left. 73 minutes left of a football match, and the game's gone. All you had to do was overcompensate, put another centre forward in. You know what I mean? Attack, get that goal. If you'd have scored in the first half against Fulham, they'd have had to come out your second half, and you'd pick them open again. You'd have probably got your second, your third, and then all of a sudden you're 4-0 up. The league's rosy. Everyone's really confident, and you're the best manager since sliced bread. But you know what I mean? The lack of confidence which I'm watching at that football club at the minute is just so disheartening. You know what I mean? There's just nothing there. There's no belief in the stands. There's no belief on the bench. There's no belief on the players. There's no leaders, and it's quite worrying. You know that they've got themselves in the bottom 3. And I said at the start, the league tables don't lie, and everyone knows how much of a Middlesbrough fan I am. I love Middlesbrough, I love the club, and you know what I mean. And I've read some rubbish on social media over the weekend about whose fault it is. You know what I mean. And the buck's got to stop with the manager. And I know the manager went to school with him, but that doesn't mean that I'm not a realist. You know what I mean. I've read some rubbish at the weekend about Steve Gibson's fault. It's the chairman's fault. The chairman bought this football club in about 1986, and it was going bust. We didn't have a ground. We played at Hartlepool United, and people have small memories and decide that he's now the worst chairman in the world because we're now starting to have a few bad results. We've been to a European Cup final. We've brought in some of the best football players this Premier League's ever seen, and people have such a short memory, and it drives me mad. That people can start blaming a chairman or an owner or a chief executive when it's the players on the pitch who need to take responsibility. You know what I mean? I'm all for blaming everybody as a collective, but you can't pick one person out and blame them. Steve Gibson's not missing chances on a Saturday. Steve Gibson, I can't remember him letting a goal in the season. Do you know what I mean? I can't remember him misplacing a pass. Do you know what I mean? He's put money into this football club and built a squad of players which is good enough on paper to be in the top 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the championship easily, and they're massively underachieving, and they deserve where they are in the league. And if they're not careful, they're going to get stuck there. And then I do fear for them because Steve's a businessman, and why would he want to continue to plough money into a football club then, who's going nowhere? Do you know what I mean? But you know what I mean. To blame him for where they are is just downright rude and bang out of order.
Fair enough. So, a couple of things I would say. I do feel overall, not just a Woodgate thing, British coaches overall have a severe reluctance to think outside the box in real time. So, like when the game changes or something happens, it's almost like they've got these sheets of paper, or if this happens, we'll do this. If this happens, we'll do this. They don't seem to be able to sort of stray from what they've got planned out in their head. So for me, if after 20 minutes, if at half time, right, Fulham have shut up shop, they've closed the game down, this looks like it's a dead game. Right, let's do something different. Let's go 3 at the back. Let's play an extra centre forward. Let's change the formation completely. Let's do something to make Fulham have to change. You know, Paddy McNair has been one of the best players going forward this season for Middlesbrough from what I've seen, where he's making runs off the striker from midfield.
He's been one of the best players. Been one of the best players in the Championship side.
So why wouldn't they move him? As soon as that sending off happens, you'd move him into midfield, wouldn't you?
100%. But then, Si, I think you've just said something quite interesting about why wouldn't you do this? Do you think it's because coaches have been involved in the biggest at times the biggest load of rubbish ever because everyone's playing against each other, playing exactly the same formation, just cancelling each other out. You're not trying to win the game, you're just trying not to lose the game. Well, the only way to get out of this championship is by winning. Not about not losing, it's about winning. And unfortunately, you know, I mean, Middlesbrough, they fell in a trap this season, along with some other big sides as well, by the way, of worrying about other teams instead of other teams worrying about them.
Yeah. Spot on, that is. So, just quickly on that, I would say, remember when Mourinho first came to this country? People were in love with him that first couple of seasons. And you know, one of the things which really got people to fall in love with him, apart from his off the field, like cheeky chappy stuff when he was happy, was that he would do things like, if things weren't working 20 minutes into a game, he would take someone off tactically and change his formation completely. Yep. Or he would move, I don't know, like he would do things to influence the game, to change the game, which we'd never seen before.
Yeah, he'd go for up front and just pin teams back, and you know what I mean. He wasn't scared of losing. He wasn't scared of losing. He wanted to win every game, and he demanded excellence from everybody. And I don't see that now. Everyone's trying to copy the Guardiolas and the Klopps, but we haven't got the players to emulate this. You can't look at Liverpool's front three and think we're going to play like that today because you haven't got Mane, you haven't got Firmino, you haven't got Salah, they haven't got the same ability. So why try and copy players who you just can't do it? It's impossible. Just impossible.
No. Too many managers and coaches, they let the game drift until the final 10 minutes or the final 5 minutes. And I just think, what you're in charge. Your job's on the line. So do something. Influence the game.
Yeah.
Change
100%.
tactics. Change your formation.
100%.
Move players around.
Why would you say? Why would you feel? Why would you? How gutted would you be if you lost your job and then you thought, oh, if only I'd, you know what I mean? Well, just do it. If you're going to lose your job in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, then lose it by doing the right thing and trying something different. And
here's my thing with it, mate. Now is managers, they don't get time. Okay, so you haven't got time.
No, they don't.
So why not do it your way? Do it and try and influence games.
Yeah.
I've probably got 2 years at the most, even if things go well, because that's the way the game's going. Yeah. So do something.
Yeah, I agree.
Put your stamp on it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, the thing is, it's a one-off opportunity, isn't it? You know what I mean? Especially in his hometown club, and you know what I mean. Like you say, I think a lot of chairmen have looked at the Frank Lampards and the John Terrys and the Steve Gerrards and thought, you know what? It's gonna be a success because it's happened there, and it's not that easy. You know what I mean? Some of them are going to fail, and you know what I mean. Unfortunately, it's happening at Middlesbrough. You know what I mean? I hope they can turn it around, but at the minute they deserve to be where they are, and you know what I mean. And fair play to Fulham. I thought Fulham, with a man down, I thought still should have won it. I thought Mitrovic should have scored with his header, second half, especially after his hat trick in the week. But you know what I mean, when you've got players who can change the game like that, you know what I mean. But the longer the game went, I didn't see Fulham looking like they're going to lose. And you know what I mean. You say there about it's a good result before the game for Middlesbrough. During the game, it was a superb result for Fulham because they won obviously through the week at home on the Tuesday night. But then they go and get a good point at Middlesbrough. You know what I mean. So you know what I mean. They've had a good solid week.
Spot on. So talking about managers, Millwall got a new manager a couple of weeks back, and Gary Rowett.
Yeah.
Millwall 2, and they beat Stoke have been picked up a couple of decent results recently.
Yeah.
And Millwall done them 2-1 at home.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't probably see this one coming. I thought Stoke could turn the corner a little bit, and I wouldn't say that I'd probably expected Stoke to win, but you know what I mean. I thought it was always going to be a tough game, but. The new manager obviously had an impact of what he said in the changing room, and obviously worked on things over the course of the week. And to be honest, I thought they were outstanding. I thought they created chance after chance after chance. They've got about 3 Wallaces playing for them, and you know what I mean. I won't know which one's done what, but I'm going to speak about one later on. But some of their attacking play was just out of this world. You know what I mean. They looked quick. There was good movement, good outside, inside the box, and they just caused Stoke City all kinds of problems. Stoke City had opportunities themselves. Should have scored. Lee Gregory missed a very, very good chance. I thought Federici in goal for Stoke did really well. You know what I mean. I'm surprised he's playing, but you know what I mean. Jones has obviously got his. It's decided the way that he's going to go down, and Butland's had a really poor start of the season, so Federici deserves to play. And even though they got beat 2-0, I thought Federici was probably Stoke's better player. Tom Ince came into the game later on and had a decent strike, which probably could have gone in on another day. But you know, I think the way that Stoke picked up last week and got a victory last week, I think they'll just plod on and they'll get back on the horse and they'll pick another result up. But I think it just wasn't for them because of the Gary Rowett situation and the new manager for Millwall and the point to prove that Millwall players looked that they had, especially after what happened at Brentford last week for Millwall. That they're 2-0 up with 5 minutes to go. You know what I mean? I was concerned for them as well, but no, they deserved that. Thoroughly deserved it, and probably could have been more than the 2, to be fair, Si.
Yeah, they were excellent. Millwall. They played so quick going forward as well.
Yeah.
Jed Wallace was superb.
Loved watching them.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, mate. And there's a thing about manager putting his stamp on straight away. Millwall have completely changed the way they're playing in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Gary Rowett's gone in there with the attitude, not letting it drift, getting to know his players, or like, or we'll see how it goes. Let's bed in. No, we're playing this way. We're going to play attacking football. I believe they played 4-4-2 as well, and 2 wingers. Let's go. And why not?
Yeah. Well, things I say, you even look at the Brentford game last week. You know what I mean? Going forward, outstanding. You know what I mean? They got the other side of Brentford. You know what I mean? They created chance after chance after chance again. The problem they've got is defensively. You know what I mean? That they need to score 2-3 goals to win a football match, because Stoke again should have scored. They had a couple of really good chances. You know what I mean? On another day they'll be disappointed they didn't score at least one, maybe 2, maybe 3. But you know what I mean? I'm not taking anything away from them. They thoroughly deserve to win that football match.
Yeah, they did indeed. So next up was a very action-packed game, shall we say, in West Brom 2, Charlton 2.
Lee Bowyer's final game. Suspended, and he watched the game right in the gods. He watched it with his own TV camera crew who did the game. And to be fair, just every time I'm watching Charlton in a minute, I'm sort of just surprising me with the way they're doing it. You know what I mean? They didn't get off to a great start. Pereira set up Phillips, and for me, Pereira's turning into the best player in the Championship so far for me. He's electric. I just love watching him. He just seems to glide past players and just enjoy setting people up, and just enjoys just terrorising defenders. And you know what I mean? I think first half was just his, and you know what I mean. I think he had a fantastic display. But I thought Phillips' his goal was excellent as well. His finish in the top corner. It's a solid 1-0 at half time, and then all of a sudden Charlton just came into the game. So whatever Lee Bowyer changed at half time, or things he said at half time were the right things to say, and got themselves an equaliser through. I'd probably say a little bit of a fortunate goal with a deflection, but very tidy header, but very good goal. And then I'll leave the red card up to you, but I thought it was a bit of a shocker. I know there's obviously going to talk about the whole incident, what happened after the red card, but then Robson Kanu came off the bench again, got himself another goal. Obviously scored at Middlesbrough a couple of weeks ago on their 1-0 victory. He's come off the bench and scored some very, very important goals. And then Cullen got himself the equaliser in injury time from the penalty spot, which was an absolute stonewall penalty, regardless what I don't know what the defender was playing at, to be fair. There was no way in the world he was going to win that ball. And then decided to shoulder barge him, thinking he was going to win the header. 94th minute, you do not go anywhere near anybody in the box, because you know for a fact the referee has got, even if it's not a penalty, the ref can't change his mind from VAR. The same thing with Robson Kanu's goal. If that was in the Premier League, it wouldn't count. You know what I mean? So defenders just need to give themselves a little bit of a clean head, compose themselves, because 94th minute, you're touching anybody in the box, they're going to fall over just to give themselves an opportunity to get a penalty in the last minute. And I'm not saying it's not a penalty, because I thought it was a stonewall penalty, but I thought it was just so naive defending by West Brom, and they just ruined an opportunity for themselves to take all 3 points, especially with 10 men, because it would have been a really good result to beat Charlton Athletic with 10 men.
Yeah, and the thing with the penalty, mate, is he didn't need to make the challenge. He gave the referee a decision to make. But here's my thing: is he did what Mane did on Sunday for the penalty as well? Is he could see that the defender was going to attack the ball to try and clear it. So in the Liverpool game, Mane saw that the Spurs defender was about to boot it away. So he just put his foot in the way. And then he tried to boot the ball, he kicks him. The striker could see the Charlton, the West Brom defender come in to head of the ball. So all he did is stood in the way and then went over. It's a penalty.
Yeah, 100% nailed on.
Regardless of how stupid and clumsy it looks, and you think, oh, is that really a penalty? It's a penalty. It's a foul. Yeah. He took him out. Yeah. I thought Charlton just surprised me more and more every week.
Oh, week in, week out.
The way they play, being silky and amazing to watch, or just their grit to go 2-0 down to West Brom, and come back in that fashion. It was really, really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Pereira, mate, his vision is unbelievable.
I can't believe honestly, mate, I can't believe we've got him in the Premier League, in the Championship. I honestly can't believe we've got him in this league. He's just terrorising defenders. He's creating chances. He just looks like he's on the top of his game. he's terrorising teams week in, week out, and you know what I mean. It must be an absolute joy to watch and to train with day in, day out. It must be a centre forward's dream there. You know what I mean. They've got an abundance of centre forwards there, and he must just create chances for fun for them. But they're not also winning games comfortably as well. You know what I mean. They drew with Barnsley.
Clean sheet.
Through the week, that was 2-2. They drew 2-2 again. You know what I mean? This was probably a good point with 10 men, but you know what I mean. When you're 2-1 up with seconds left, it's a bad result.
Yeah, West Brom haven't kept a clean sheet all season, which is an amazing, incredible stat.
Especially with Slaven Bilic, because he's just made up. He's a centre half himself, isn't he? And and he just lived off his clean sheets.
So yeah, mate. My dream is to have a team with Glick and Pereira in the same midfield. That would be my dream.
Imagine that.
With Joe Allen sitting just behind. Oof.
Oh,
have some of that.
That would be. That's Premier League heaven, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So next up is Sheff Wednesday versus Leeds, which I think if these two were still playing now, they still wouldn't score. It was like save, crossbar, post, crossbar, post.
I'm gonna start side with
keepers. Awesome.
Paddy Bamford. I'm gonna start with Paddy Bamford and Bielsa. That he keeps. I don't know what Paddy Bamford's got over him, but he keeps on playing him. And I feel so sorry for Nketiah that he's not getting an opportunity to play. He brings Paddy Bamford on, brings Nketiah back, brings him on at half time, and he terrorised the back four when he came on. Terrorised them. Absolutely couldn't live with his pace, and he's such a different player to what Paddy is. But I'll stick up for Paddy a little bit. That his header in the first half was outstanding, and Westwood pulled off a great save. But he's just playing with zero confidence. He looks like he could play for another year without scoring a goal at the minute. And you know, but yeah, both goalkeepers were outstanding on the day. I thought defences were quite shaky. Yeah. Steve Fletcher's shot second half with the crossbar, then hit the goalkeeper and went out for a corner. I thought was excellent, outstanding, and so unlucky. But I thought Sheff Wed were really good, really strong, and I thought probably deserved to win. You know what I mean? And if I look at the league table and they're right up there, and they've just come there quite steadily, quite quietly. And but for me, after watching them about a month ago at Middlesbrough when they turned us over 4-1, they were the best side I've seen live this season by a country mile. Yeah.
Barry Banham was outstanding again.
Oh, he knits things together, mate, and his left foot's like a wand, and you know what I mean. I think he's gonna cause loads of teams problems with his quality and the way that he does things.
Yeah. Next up was Bristol City 2, Wigan 2. Wigan, oh Jesus,
I can't work them out. Well, there's something with Josh Windass as well, because Josh Windass was supposed to play, and last minute he didn't play, and apparently I don't know what it was, but someone said something about an injury in the warm up or something. But then he was seen fine later on. But anyway, yeah, they just can't buy a clean sheet, and they can't. You know what I mean? We go back to the first game of the season side with Wigan. You know what I mean? That the performance they pulled in against Cardiff City was all action, all attacking, with pace, with a bit of creativity, had a bit of everything. And I haven't seen that since. You know what I mean? I've seen little snippets here and there of what they can do, but you know what I mean? Defensively, they're all over the place at times. You know what I mean? But then they can go to Bristol City and turn them over. And Bristol City have to go. I think Bristol City equalised in the 86th, 87th minute. You know what I mean? So it was probably a disappointing point in the end for Wigan. You know what I mean? But if you'd have offered them a 2-2 draw at the start of the season or start of the game on Sunday lunchtime, they'd have snapped your hands off. But they just, you know what I mean? Paul Cook, he's a very shrewd manager. He'll be, you know what I mean? He'll be working tirelessly to get things right and defend better, and you know what I mean, try and keep clean sheets. But you know what I mean, I see this championship side as it's like the gift what keeps on giving, and you know what I mean, there's goals, and you know what I mean, you can defend all you want, side, but Cardiff got it right 2 seasons ago and defended and got nick games 1-0. But this season, there's no team who seems to be doing that, and you know what I mean, it's the teams who are scoring goals, the West Broms, and you know what I mean, the Leeds at the start of the season who were doing well. And it's not about clean sheets sometimes; it's about putting the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's about winning games. I think the thing with Wigan is they seem to either be able to defend really well or attack really well,
Yeah.
but they don't seem to be able to do it together.
No.
Because there's something there. They were, I think, were they 2-0 up or 2-1 up, and
2-1 up, yeah.
There's quality there. Bristol,
Yeah.
a good side. I think Bristol are really flattering to deceive this year, though. They started off really well. They had a bit of a run, and then they seem to have gone back to that sort of stop-starty thing, and just not quite doing it for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree, Si. I just think I think they need to. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is the lost a phobia through injury. I don't know if that's hit them. You know what I mean? They're letting goals in. You know what I mean? The amount of money they spent. They spent what, £15 million on Callas. You know what I mean? And they're still shipping goals in. You know what I mean? They've got Ashley Williams. You know, they shouldn't be letting goals in the way that they are. You know what I mean? Because Bristol City are scoring goals. They create chances to score goals, and they can't really afford to let the amount of goals in that they are. It's not healthy. It's not a healthy way to push forward in the Championship.
No, spot on, mate. So that's all the games. Brentford are currently beating QPR 1-0.
Yeah, they are 1-0. Yeah.
Ollie Watkins again.
Yeah, he's on fire. And to fair side, we spoke about him constantly about how good he is. You know what I mean? And this is it just proves that we do know what we're talking about sometimes. Even though we got every prediction wrong at the start of the season, we're work in progress. That's what it is.
Well, as we said last week, mate, they weren't our real predictions, but they were just
just fake ones.
We wrote down our real ones.
I think what it is, Si, we don't know our teams, but we know our players.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
There you go.
Absolutely. So speaking of players, let's go for our 2 for 2 for this week. This is where myself and Andy pick 2 big performances, moments, or players, and 2 nightmares for the weekend. So where did we start last week? I think we did it Downs last week first. So let's go with that. Just go on. Let's start with the positives. Who have you got first?
Right, I'm going to start with Jed Wallace. I thought it was outstanding. You spoke about him earlier, that he caused Stoke a number of problems. He got himself an assist for the first goal and scored himself a deserved goal after being brought down for the penalty. You know, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. And if you can play like that for Gary Rowett, he's got himself a very, very, very good player, and to obviously push Millwall potentially up the table and away from the relegation.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, mate. I got to say. So my first up. Well, actually, before I say my first up, I would say shout out to the keepers this week.
Yeah.
I thought Westwood, Casilla, George Long, Federici. I thought they were all very, very good.
Especially after all the stick we've given him, Si. Yeah, so
absolutely. That's why I wanted to give him a shout out, because none of my ups.
Fair play.
So my first up is my favourite player, Jared Bowen. He was just simply exquisite, mate.
Justified, mate. It's justified, isn't it? It's not. Forget favoritism. You know what I mean? He's doing the business on the pitch. He's doing his talking with his feet, and
I mean, I was only playing, and he's not my favourite player, but you know what I mean. He's like I don't have favourites because I'm impartial, but
no, but aside, do you know what? It's great though, because. Same as Ollie Watkins, you know what I mean? Like, people may think we've got favourites, but these players are doing it week in, week out consistently. So we've got to talk about them, because they're doing it all the time, and you know what I mean? That week in, week out, home and away, consistency is key in this Championship, and you know what I mean? These players are doing it.
Yeah, my other up I really wanted to give, because he's impressed me a lot in the last couple of weeks. But so it's a toss-up really between Jed Wallace and Jared Bowen, because I thought both of them were just so good, and they're such big parts of what their teams are trying to do at the moment.
Yeah.
If you took them out of the team, I think both their teams wouldn't be able to attack in the same way and to the same standard that they currently are. Yeah. That's how good they are.
I agree.
So who you got for your second one, mate?
I agree. I've gone for Welshman. I've gone for Hal Robson-Kanu. And I think it's not just for this week as well. Obviously, he came on at Middlesbrough, scored the equaliser, scored through the week again, and then comes on again and scores a goal. But it wasn't just the way; it was the way he scored it as well on Saturday. You know what I mean? He cut in from the left, and I think he was desperate to pass. But then the goal opened up, and he just
walked away.
You know what I mean? He just walked away. I think they thought he was going to pass, but then obviously they opened up, and the gap opened up, and the way he bent it in. You know what I mean? There's no questioning his quality. He's got quality in abundance, and he's done it on the biggest stage for Wales, and he's done it throughout his career, and it just shows that the boy's got absolutely huge ability and quality. And you know, West Brom probably need to play him more to get the rewards. And you know what I mean? Some people get renowned for being a super sub, but for me, I'd stick him in and see how he does it, because you know what I mean. You look at some of the other players' side for the West Brom centre forwards; they're not scoring goals. It's always the substitutes who are coming on and doing it.
Yeah, it's true. I think with him, he's obviously he's retired from Welsh international football now. Yeah. He's 32 or 33. He wants to concentrate on his club career, which is it's fair enough. But I do think he's what a super sub to come on for for West Brom is superb, mate.
Outstanding.
So my next up is Macaulay Bonne from Charlton. He's really stepped up in the last couple of weeks, and he's been outstanding. I thought his performance, not just his goal, but his performance overall, just gotten back in the game. You know, they were 2-0 down, they were struggling, they were a bit all over the shop in the first half, and the second half he came out and he just led, like it was a real leader's performance from a young guy. Is impressive, really impressive, and that's been for a couple of weeks now.
I thought his goal was outstanding as well, Si, so it was a good shout. That, you know what I mean? I thought, you know what I mean? It was a bit of a lucky deflection, but obviously he read it, and you've got to read things and be in the right place at the right time, and that's always a sign of a good player.
Yeah, you've got to be fox in the box, mate.
Yes, you do.
So, who's your first down, mate?
I'll go on the Millwall game. So I've gone Lee Gregory, and if anybody's seen the highlights of the Millwall Stoke City game, Lee Gregory is obviously an ex-Millwall player, and it was 1-0 at the time, and it was just the worst, one of the worst misses I've seen. He didn't even make a connection. He's just a fresh air shot, and you know what I mean. And he's an excellent centre forward. He's a goal scorer. He scored hundreds of goals, and you know what I mean. For him to miss that, you know what I mean, on a big stage against his old club, it was obviously a major incident in that game. So you know what I mean, Lee Gregory, he'll take the pluses when he scores his ones, his twos, his hat tricks, but he's obviously got to take the critics when he misses a sitter as well.
Yes, it was a howler.
Shocker, yeah.
So my first down is Nathan Ferguson of West Bromwich Albion and the referee. So Ferguson's tackle
absolutely awful. Do you know what I say? I don't know which one's worse. So I want to hear what you say.
No, you're right. It's really right. So Ferguson's tackle was just so out of control. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah,
and poor. Anyone who defends that is just talking out the backside, because he had no control over it. Which means if he, catches that player, he's going to break his leg. Yeah. And I saw that they was the players and coaching staff. Oh, he got the ball. Doesn't matter. It was high and it was out of control. It was dangerous.
Reckless. Yeah, it's reckless. Yeah.
And then I'm watching it, and then the referee sends off. What was his name?
He sent off Diagana.
And I'm sat there watching, and I'm thinking, where's he sent him off for? Have I missed? I thought I must have missed something. He must have thrown a punch or pushed someone over. No, just sent off the wrong player. And as me and you discussed beforehand, all he's got to do in that situation, the referee, is say, look, in the melee of players where they were all angry because of the tackle, I've lost track of who did the original tackle.
Yeah.
You tell me. You speak to the coaches, you can speak to your linesman, your fourth official. There's ways to do it. Don't send off the wrong player. Look like a tit.
But I think so at the minute, I think referees are making the decisions so quickly. You know what I mean? He couldn't have got his red card out of his pocket any quicker. So I think he just brandished it at the first person he saw. You know what I mean? He could have been anybody. You know what I mean? But to do it that quickly and to get it wrong and then to it was just a farce, an absolute laughable farce again. It's making football a laughingstock. You know what I mean? And we're on about you know what I mean, in the same game. Obviously, Robson Carney's handball for the goal potentially wouldn't have counted if VAR was present. But the referee didn't have a very good game that day on Saturday, and I think when his performance is reviewed this week or on Sunday, I think he'll be. I think he'll be lucky if he does the championship this weekend.
Yeah, and I think the standard of refereeing over the last couple of years has been
lucky.
Piss poor.
But it's getting worse, though, because VAR's even getting it wrong now. VAR's making mistakes. So when VAR's making mistakes, what chances have got? Because now people are relying on it. So if you're relying on a system to get you out of the shit, we've got no chance. So
the problem is as well is with the VAR is the referees, right? VAR is only supposed to overturn decisions which have the referees clearly got wrong or clearly missed. Now my problem is there was a couple on the weekend where the referee should have just gone over to the screen at the side of the pitch, which is at his disposal, because he made the right decision, the VAR overturned it. So he should have gone to check it and said no, because he can overturn. He can say no, I got it right.
Yeah.
But if he's not going to do that, what's the point?
I think what's the point of having the TV there, Si? Not one referee has used the TV in the season. I'm sure all referees at the start of the season have had a meeting and gone, like, no one's allowed to use it. The first one to use it is it's banned from refereing for the rest of the year. It's like a leper. Like, no one's allowed to use it. You know what I mean? In the World Cup, they used it properly. It's got to be used.
In the Bundesliga, they use it 3 or 4 or 5 times a game.
You know what I mean? And I think it would be more exciting, because I think I'd have more respect for a referee that at the minute we're seeing referees making mistakes and they're getting overturned by somebody else. Where I'd like to see a referee go, do you know what? I'm looking at the TV. Yes, I got it wrong, but I'm looking at it again. Or I'm looking at the TV. Do you know what? I got it right, so I'm going to stick with it because I've seen it again. Yeah. So whatever I said, and I'd have more respect for them because they're only human. So whatever they think happened might not have happened, but if it did and you can see it again, say, do you know what? I was bang on there. And then come out after the game and say, do you know what? I'll tell you why I used it, because I thought I was right, but I just wanted to make sure I was right. Or I thought I was wrong, I needed to make sure I was wrong. And just come out with that. And you know what I mean? And I think, and for me, Si, I think they've probably they've missed a trick that we should have probably trialled it in the Championship with all what's going on in the Championship. Got these snags out the way a little bit, told referees that you have to use it at least once a game if there's unless there's the game's like a 0-0. But in the Championship, mate, everything's all singing, all dancing. You know what I mean? You're getting all sorts happening in the Championship. The game's probably lasting 3 weeks because you're over at the TV for, you know what I mean, for 10 days of it. You know what I mean? It's just, but that's life. You know what I mean? I'd rather do it properly and use it properly than trial it in the Premier League, the biggest league in the world, and still making mistakes. You know what I mean? So we just, it is what it is. Nightmare.
No, to me, it's like, do it properly or don't do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't half-ass it. And that's what I feel like they're doing at the moment.
Don't fix it if it's not broke, but yeah.
Yeah, I preferred it without, mate. What's your final down?
I've gone for my own side's manager, Jonathan Woodgate, for his tactics against 10-men Fulham. You know what I mean? I spoke about Paddy McNair playing centre-half when obviously Fulham went down to 10 men and not changing it until 7 minutes to go. And you know what I mean? For me, I think we missed a little bit of a trick. And you know what I mean? Around about coaches coaching the same way and everybody coaching in the same manner and everyone's formations matching everyone else's. For me, it's got to change. And hopefully this is a learning curve and somebody tries something completely different next week.
Spot on. I've also gone for my home team, and I've actually just gone for the whole team for showing no urgency, no passion, no dedication. Generally, couldn't be asked in the biggest game of the season to date. And if it weren't for Sean Morrison, it would have been 4-0. Piss poor.
Fair one.
Back on to next week.
Bit of honesty.
Quite right. Shout out as well. The Blackburn keeper nearly got it for me, just for that terrible decision for the first. First goal. Well, that let him back into the game.
That stopped. Yes. Started the rot, didn't it? Really, that one. Poor mistake.
Okay, so we're gonna finish off with some questions and fake Geordie Lingo Bingo. So, but let's have some questions. Send your questions for Andy every week to facebook.com/AceCastNation, Twitter @AceCast_Nation using the hashtag AceNationArmy, or email acenetworkcontact@gmail.com. So first question is, oh my God. So they're all about Cardiff pretty much. Okay, let's start with one which is not so much about Cardiff because they're all about Cardiff. If asked, would you take the Borough or the Cardiff job?
Oh, do you know what? It would be a dream to be involved in a football club, but to be involved in one of those two would be a dream come true. Because, you know, I mean, I'm not saying I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, but I'm sure to work closely under somebody or with somebody, and you know what I mean, I'd love to, in some capacity, work for either or both at some point in my life. Yeah.
So you take the manager job, and I'll be the head analyst.
Yeah.
We'll whip him into shape. Yeah.
Yeah, too right. Yeah. Yeah. We would have got three points on Sunday. Tell you.
3 points, absolutely. I got 6 points, mate. That's how good an analyst I would be. So, okay, here's the first question. They're all along this kind of line. Surely Warnock has to go now. That was dreadful, but as dreadful a performance in a derby as I can remember in recent times. There's not really a question in there. Surely
no.
Warnock has to go, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah. It's for me. I think that the worst thing the football club did was announce that he was going to leave. I said this in the opening show of the series this season, and you know what I mean. I think it's coming back to bite them on the backside a little bit. That for me, there should have been a date. You know what I mean. And for me, is it time for him to move upstairs? Yeah, I wouldn't leave the football club altogether, because I think, you know what I mean, I think he's still got the knowledge for whoever to come in. He knows the players, he knows the area, he knows the football club, and I think he still needs to be there in some capacity. But for me, I think sooner rather than later, this decision has got to be made, because he's not going to be there in the summer anyway. So I think it's got to happen. You know what I mean? I love Neil to bits. You know what I mean, as a person, as a manager, but you know what I mean. I just don't want people to hate his final year as a manager after all the good work he's done. You know what I mean? Because that'd be especially if that's his final swan song as manager. You know what I mean? I'd rather him retire last year.
Final contribution to football.
Yeah, it's not the way that I wanted him to go out. You know what I mean? So I hope even if he just goes upstairs, that, you know what I mean, I think then it would, and then just finally go out a little bit by bit, then it would be easier to take and give him a little bit more respect back, and maybe he's a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think moving upstairs with a young manager coming in would be a good shout. Cardiff have mismanaged their transfer window since relegation. They look to be paying the price as they aren't getting any better. Is it possible with an exceptional window to still go up, or do they need to wait till the summer and have a fuller clear out?
Oh, it's difficult, mate, that one, because you've got to. It depends who comes in as manager. You know what I mean? You've got the manager's obviously in charge of that. You know, is the chairman going to back Neil Warnock in the January window when he's not going to be there in the summer? It'd be stupidity if he did that, because a new manager comes in the summer, might not like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the players, so then you've got to ship out again, and football's not that easy now. Everyone knows the wages are too big, people are on long contracts, there's payoffs, there's this, that, whatever. So for me, the decision's got to be made about the manager first and foremost, and then the transfer budget is then given to whoever takes over. And if that's January, then brilliant. If that's you wait till the summer, then so be it. The squad's good enough on paper to succeed and to do well. You just need to be guided in a way for them to start performing. But as a business decision, I don't see how anyone could give the manager money to spend in the January window if he's not going to be there in the summer. I just find it a ridiculous business decision.
Yeah, they're in a ridiculous situation, aren't they? Because
it's not a normal position, Si, is it? It's not a normal.
No.
It's just not a normal position, and I think that's the problem that we've got, Si, that the chairman's in a quandary. That I'm not going to put my hand in my pocket because you're not going to be there,
he doesn't like spending money anyway.
Yeah, but the manager's probably wanting money to spend in the January window, and it's never going to happen. It's just impossible. It's got to be an impossibility.
Yeah. Do you blame Warnock stroke tactics, Cardiff players, or Swansea just being a better team?
All of the above, I'll be honest. I know that's probably a little bit of a cop-out, but I'm going to explain why. I think the manager got his team selection wrong and his tactics wrong. You know what I mean? The way that they were playing. You know what I mean? I think you've got Glasgow up front. I think we're using him wrong. The players have to be responsible for their own performance. I don't think they put the shift in, and the game was a little bit too big for some of them. But on the flip side, I thought Swansea's tactics were spot on. I thought some of their players stepped up to the plate. 2 centre-halves were excellent. The wide men, midfield, centre-forward, I thought was outstanding. So when you're playing against a side who puts a performance in like that, you know what I mean? They're gonna have you've got to do then something special to counteract that and to beat it. And we didn't have enough players on the flip side to beat what they brought to the table. And you know what I mean? But that starts in the tunnel. It starts in the warm up. You know what I mean? You've got to make sure that you're better than your opponent. And if 7 or 8 Cardiff players are better than 7 or 8 Swansea players, we would have won easily. But unfortunately, Swansea probably had 9 players better than Cardiff had on the day.
Yeah, I think basically it's like you say, it's a combination of the 3. The tactics are wrong generally at the moment. Cardiff players aren't good enough at the moment, and Swansea played very well on Sunday. Tomorrow morning, you have to replace Neil Warnock. Who would you replace him with, and would you sack him outright or move him to technical director?
I would put him upstairs. 100%. I would put him upstairs. Who would I replace him with? I think they've gone down the route of experienced managers. You know what I mean? Obviously, with him being in charge. So I think it's a young, fresh approach for me. You know what I mean? And for me, I would go and push the boat out for Steven Gerrard and say to Steven that you've tried Scottish football. I think it's time to come to English football and
Welsh football, mate.
Well, Welsh English League football, and go and try look in the Premier League and get Cardiff in the Premier League, because I still think that would be a step up. You know what I mean? To step up from Scottish football, regardless of European football and Europa League and Champions League, because you can only go so far. And it's the same. Neil Lennon's tried it. Brendan Rodgers has done it. You know what I mean? But I think for Stevie to jump from Rangers to a Premier League team would be a bigger ask. You know what I mean? Look what Frank Lampard's done. He's gone from the playoff final to the Champions League. You know what I mean? And he's finding that transition quite easily at the minute. You know what I mean? I think he struggled at the start, but his transition now is a little bit easier. And I think probably Stevie G would be ready for another challenge. He's earned his stripes, so to speak, at Glasgow Rangers, and maybe it might be time to move on. But apart from that, I can probably see no further than Craig Bellamy and getting Craig to come and have a go. But I don't know the ins and outs of the inquiry, what happened last time with the reasons why he left Cardiff City and went over to Belgium. So you know what I mean. But I think in the long run, I think Craig would be an ideal replacement, but with working with Neil above him.
Yeah, I think my issue, because I think Bellamy would be very good for Cardiff. I think I said on Twitter when we were speaking to someone who had answered the question, is if you give it to Bellamy, you've got to say, right, you've got 3 to 5 years. You let him do whatever he wants to do with the academy, all the way up to the first team, so that they're all playing the same way, similar formation and tactics, so the transition is smooth from up in each age group. You give him money to spend, you let him get the players he wants, and you let him play the way he wants. My other concern is those players who are there now, I don't think are ready for what Bellamy would expect, or the high standards he would expect on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because the reason people don't get on with Bellamy a lot of the time on a football field is because he expects exceptionally high standards at all times. Yeah. And people can't live to those standards, which causes friction.
But rightly so though, Si. You know that define high standards. You know what I mean? And I'll go back to the game on Sunday. That work rate is a given. You know what I mean? If he didn't see people putting a shift in on Sunday, like probably a lot of us didn't see people putting a shift in, he would tell them outright. Players don't like that anymore. You know what I mean? He's old school. He's Alex Ferguson like. You know what I mean? And people don't like the hairdryer treatment. People don't like to be told face to face that they're not good enough. But unfortunately, the way the world is, in any other job, if you're not doing your job properly, you get told. And football is no different anymore. You know what I mean? Regardless of how it used to happen, how it happens now. You know what I mean? If you don't do your job properly anywhere, in a bank, in a post office, working on the roads, you get told about it. So why should football be any different?
Yeah, I agree completely. My another shout could be someone like a Carl Robinson. I think he's done a good job elsewhere.
Yeah.
He's Welsh.
Yeah.
But not 100% sure on that one either. And I think that's half the problem is there's no one necessarily which you think, oh yeah, he'd be the guy.
Yeah, but it's also a side as well, though. You know what I mean? That you don't want to get somebody in who's not going to have that
the respect to the players.
Yeah, but also push the club to another level, because you go and be disappointed with the arrival of the manager. Go, oh, you know what I mean? Oh,
yeah, like when they brought Russell Slade in.
Yeah, I wish we'd have got somebody better. You know what I mean? That there's nothing worse than that. And you know what I mean? Sometimes it's you want the right manager in place, but you want to be excited by the news. You know what I mean? I remember the first day when Middlesbrough brought in Brian Robson. It was just, it was magical. You know what I mean? It was brilliant, and that's what you want. You want that. You want that X factor. You want that excitement, and you want that. You want that yazoo about. You know what I mean? Who's coming in and what kind of players they're going to bring in. And I think the young, fresh, vibrant manager, I think, is probably the way forward. Then.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think I'd be happy with a Gerrard or a Bellamy, probably.
Yeah.
Providing both brought in the right coaching staff.
Yeah.
I'd want them to bring in some top coaches.
Yeah.
With them, I think they both would, to be honest. But yeah. Final question is, I think we've already kind of discussed it, so it seems a bit pointless to go over it again. But it's basically, what did Warnock get wrong in terms of team selection and tactics? But we kind of discussed all that in detail.
Yeah, but, he got things wrong. You know what I mean? He's it's just a style of play at the minute. I think this isn't just one game, though, Si, as well, lads. And I'll reiterate that this has been happening for a couple of weeks now. So don't be surprised that we got beat by Swansea City. This wasn't just a one-off game. We've underperformed and underachieved a little bit this season, and we need to turn it around. And I would rather be having this conversation now, and then we turn things around, and when we play Swansea City next time, and we smash 3 or 4 past them and play in the right way and the Cardiff City way. And then all of a sudden we're in the playoffs or in the top 2 or whatever that may be, then having this same conversation in 3 months, 4 months time, and then still having this conversation about the manager.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I couldn't have said it better myself. So let's finish off with the soon-to-be award-winning 10-second segment, best in the whole world of podcasting, Fake Geordie Bingo Lingo. What you got for me, mate?
I've gone a couple of famous people from my neck of the woods. So I've gone Middlesbrough, obviously, because that's where I'm from. So 2 of the most famous people from Middlesbrough are Captain James Cook. There's obviously he's got parks, he's got hospitals named after him, and I've gone the famous Brian Clough. And I've been to Brian Clough's house because his house is still built in the area, and it's just because obviously Brian was. Obviously favourite of my old man, and you know what I mean. So it's always amazing to see my heritage. So yeah, I've gone a bit of history, bit of Middlesbrough lingo.
I did not know James Cook was from Middlesbrough. There we go.
Yes.
There we go. That's very interesting.
Captain Cook. Yeah, Captain Cook.
Very interesting indeed. So, guys, slightly longer because I went off on a rant earlier, but I apologise for that. But I don't apologise because it's always a good laugh. You can find Andy on Twitter at Andy Campbell 32, me at ACEcast_nation. You can find us at facebook.com/ACEcastNation. You can find all our shows, not just the Andy Campbell Show, at video at youtube.com/ACEpodcastNation, and audio downloads everywhere. Andy, thank you for your time, buddy.
My pleasure, mate. Top man.
Good laugh, guys. Thanks for listening, watching, whatever else you do. And we'll see you next week for another episode. Cheers, guys.
See you guys.